Welcome back, Tribe. Got an episode here. It's with Scott Galloway. You know, he's always fighting for the boys, never criticizing the girls, though. So the numbers are stark. Says on the crisis facing boys and men. Are we really going to talk about the truth, or are we just going to say that men need to step up and stop being lazy? Let's find out. Yeah, shall we?
Sounding the alarm on for years, the current crisis facing boys and men. Boys are less likely to graduate from high school and college than girls. 1 in 7 men report having no friends. And men account for 3 of every 4 deaths of despair in America. Best-selling author Scott Galloway says the lack of attention to these serious problems has created a vacuum filled by voices promoting misogyny and a toxic vision of masculinity. But Galloway insists there is hope.
Oh, we're plugging a book. No wonder. We're making the rounds because we're plugging a book, yeah? Is that what is happening here?
And his new book, entitled Notes on Being a Man, he offers practical and timely solutions on how to turn this crisis around. And Scott joins us now. He is a professor of marketing at the NYU Stern School of Business and co-host of the Raging Moderates podcast. And it's great to have you back on the show. So you have been talking about this for a year. What state are we in now in terms of where men and boys are at compared to women?
Well, thanks for having me, and it's nice to meet you all. Look, the numbers are stark. 4 times more likely to kill themselves, 3 times more likely to be homeless or addicted. You know, we have a homeless and an addiction problem, but what we really have is a male homeless and a male addiction problem. And they're 12 times more likely to be incarcerated. And I think the good news is the dialogue's become more productive. I think we recognize that our country and women aren't going to continue to flourish as long as our men are flailing.
Bro.
And by the way, women are ascending, and it's wonderful.
You see, it's all misogyny. By the way, our women are going to fail. Oh my, we're just selling a book, whatever.
Should do nothing to get in the way of that. Twice as likely to be elected to parliament somewhere around the world. More women are seeking tertiary education. But at the same time, in the next 5 years, we're probably going to have 2 women graduate from college for every man. Only 1 out of 3 men are in a relationship under the age of 30, 2 in 3 women. And you think, well, that's mathematically impossible. It's because women are dating older because they want more economically and emotionally viable men. And if a man...
Holy fuck, if they're just not mainstreaming red pill talking points from like 10 fucking years ago, this is crazy. It's the people on this side of the aisle, we've been screaming about what's going on with society, the hyper-feminization of society, the destruction of the corporate work culture, men's spaces disappearing, women invading and hyper-sexualizing every single area that they take a foothold in. Now they're fine. I think we're 5 to 10 years away from actually starting to blame feminism, where they're going to actually mainstream these talking points that I have right now. And they're going to say in 5 to 10 years, you know, I think we've overcorrected with feminism. It's become toxic. It's no longer cool to be a feminist. Like, you have to be a humanist now, and it has to be real equality, because whatever feminism is 10 years from now, it's just not good for society. It's got women just on, you know, addicted to pills. They're getting abortions. They have no men. They've decentered themselves, and they've painted themselves in a corner. So, and that's like the only way feminism is going to get like a critique from mainstream, is when it starts to adversely affect women in mass. It hasn't yet, but it will, because so many men are checking out in mass, which is affecting women the most. This is the funniest shit that you're ever going to see, dude.
Hasn't been in a relationship or cohabitated with someone, by the time he's 30, there's a 1 in 3 chance he's going to be a substance abuser. And if you look just on a very meta level, the most violent and unstable places in the world have one thing in common. They have a disproportionate number of young men without opportunity, and we're producing way too many of them.
Well, and Scott, we've been talking about political violence here an awful lot. And you look at this past summer, the assassination attempts on Donald Trump. You look at the murders of the Democrats that helped run Minnesota's state legislature. You look at Charlie Kirk and that tragedy, his tragic assassination. You look at the man who ran his pickup truck into a church with huge American flags on it, and then started
that was a leftist
Mormons again, time and time again, so many of these killings and a lot of mass shootings are men, young men.
Joe, you're exactly
trans. It's the LGBTQ community. It's the trans community. There's been like the last 7 to like 11 of the public tragedies we've had were perpetrated by trans. Like there's a whole list of them. We were counting it when we were covering what happened to Charlie Kirk.
right. Unfortunately, there's a lack of leadership here. We spend all of our calories trying to blame the other side. We're interpreting fonts on a shell as opposed to having a real argument. 98.4% of mass shooters are men. And what do all these men have in common that we were talking about? They're actually less politically engaged than the people sitting around this table. They're men who aren't connecting to church. They're not connecting to their parents. They're not connecting to school. They're not connecting to work. They go online where
who feminized school? Who feminized the workplace? Who instituted DEI? Who voted for open border policies? Who voted for all these policies like DEI, essentially, that pushed men out the door so they're economically unviable? Who told men that they were useless and good for nothing? Who said that boys needed to be medicated in school because they were defective girls? Who voted all these policies? How did our society become so feminized? Who now votes? It just happened with Mamdani in New York. We voted a socialist / communist, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's got the same people paying for his campaign. Don't worry about it. The guy's running this behind the scenes. Those guys that are running shit run both sides of the aisle. But think about who vote. 80-something% of women voted for Mamdani. Women love to vote in for the authoritarian state, big daddy government, welfare programs. They never stop. Bigger, bigger, bigger. Take care of me more and more and more. It was a fucking mistake. Universal suffrage was a mistake. I'm not just saying women voting. I'm saying men. All men being allowed to vote. Because all the other men, non-white essentially, immigrant men that were voting, the fresh arrivals, they all voted for Mamdani too. We have a problem with people that don't have a stake in the system. And so because you have no duty to democracy, you don't value it. So you just throw your vote away for people because this guy's Muslim, I'll vote for him. That's a woman, I'll vote for her. You know, this guy's black, I'll vote for him. And like nobody thinks, well, what policies do you have? What's your take on the system that we're in right now and how can you make it better? It doesn't matter. It's just I vote you because you look like me or you're the same gender, or they're saying the same shit with Kamala. Who do you think overwhelmingly voted for Kamala? Come on, bro. And why did you vote for Kamala? She's a woman, like strong boss babe. And like if women were empowered, we just do a better job. All right.
they're facing a godlike, indomitable enemy, and that is 40% of the S&P by market cap now is connected to two things: trying to enrage us or sequester us from the rest of our family. Stay on your phone. Don't have friends. Don't find relationships. Don't talk to your parents. And then they go down rabbit holes. They're much more prone to conspiracy theory. They're much more prone to misogyny. And what do you know? There's a gun available for them everywhere.
There's that
so
word
if we want to
again.
have a real conversation around reducing violence, stop the nonsense of trying to blame each other based on our political affiliation.
Right.
And provide young people with more opportunity, hold big tech accountable, and make it less easy for someone who's having a mental episode to find a weapon of war.
And Scott, you have
big tech, bro. It's you know how we're blaming big tech. You know, women don't consume big tech too, and why aren't women falling behind? They're being, you know, controlled under the thumb of big tech just as much as that, if not more. Women are more into social media. Women have a worse relationship with social media. It's the equivalent of porn for them. Their reputation and how people like them and the amount of comments they get and all that shit. They literally have mental break. TikTok is a woman's app. Think about this for a second. Women have just as much exposure to big tech as men do. That's your answer, bro? We're just going to peddle our fucking book here and just do the round so you could buy my horse shit I wrote by fucking probably Chat GPT. Regurgitating shit because I'm not going to touch the real topic, which is what feminism is the problem. Gynocentric policies, DEI, and all these other stupid things that we've instituted to demoralize and disparage and discourage men from going to college, from becoming something, for having a chance, a foot in the door, a merit-based society. No. We're going to swipe them down and push them down, suppress them, because we gotta bring women up. We gotta do the whole, diversity and inclusion. And we're gonna have diversity hires. And this is the equity and diversity chief at the company. And their job is gonna be to not hire men, especially white men, which make up the majority of the, quote, men that are having these problems by sheer population size. Yeah, and they were last in place. And then everybody's looking around like, how is it possible that you guys are such losers? You can't get your shit together. what's wrong with you? Like, I got DEI'd into fucking Stanford, and then I got DEI'd into my cushy job, and I make $100,000 to answer emails and post on TikTok how I like my latte made at work. I do fucking nothing. You're all in babysitter jobs. I can't wait for AI to come and fuck your entire life up. You don't do anything productive for this world. Men are holding this shit up, and you got fucking toads like this in suits coming over here telling everybody on TV, buy my fucking book, bro. And that here's the real problem, bro. It's actually big tech. We're like deflecting and shit. Everything, like we're deflecting, bro. Just like, I don't even know I should say this, but it's just like what's going on with the Heritage Foundation and the split between the Republican Party, that inner split happening right now with like America First and GOP, the old neocons, right? They're just like, oh, our greatest ally. It's like, why do you think Mamdani won? Dude, he went viral for the funniest clip ever. He had like 8 people that he was debating against, and at this debate, they're like, what's the first thing you're gonna do? I'm gonna go to Israel and kiss the wall. I'm gonna go to Israel. Oh, my kid's having his first bar mitzvah. I'm going to Israel. And Mamdani is like, I'm staying in New York. That's why he won. He literally went viral in the campaign. He carried it from that. That was the propulsion. That was the jet fuel that he needed to win the election. Literally the only one that stood up there and was like, how about I just deal with New Yorkers in New York? They're electing me to be a mayor in New York, not go fly to Israel. That's the internal friction inside the GOP that's happening right now. That's what's happening. But over in this space, when we're talking about feminism and men going their own way and men checking out of society, it's like the elephant in the room that nobody can mention is like feminism actually fucked up society. Actually, we can't say that. So I got to sell my book, and I'm going to come out here and be like, you know what? But women are going to be most effective. We need strong men for women. They're going to go on big tech, and like they're the only ones consuming Instagram apparently. And then they're going to go down rabbit holes. As if women don't go down rabbit holes, bro. Women aren't over there saying like anti-natalist policies. They're like aborting children by the millions. Literally 80 million children aborted. They're having multiple abortions, like having parties and going to work the next day and like, yay, boss girl. Like you don't see the degeneracy, the disgust, the devilish nature of what's being pushed on women, the hypersexualization. How many women are on fucking OnlyFans that are of that age, 18 to like 25? It's a shocking number. So is it like 1 in 10 or something like that? You most likely have met a chick that literally prostituted herself online and sold naked pictures of herself online or videos, sticking God knows what up her woo-ha. And most of the time they fail. They don't even make like $100 a month. This is it right here. We can't mention that elephant in the room about how feminism has destroyed the potential in women and their femininity, and it's turning them into like bitter, masculine, whatever, wannabe men. And then you have the other aspect where it's feminized men completely and destroyed all their masculine spaces and even destroyed what it means to be masculine. They shame everything. The American Psychological Association literally tells men that being stoic and competitive and using your anger to, propel yourself forward in life that's too toxic. That's old school. That's toxic masculinity. You need to be weak. You need to cry. And then you cry in front of a bitch and she dries up like the Sahara Desert and leaves you and then makes fun of you and says she's got the ick. Men who shed tears give me the ick. Come on, man. We live in such a clown world today. And that's one of the simplest way to put it. The hypocrisy, it's just oozing for everybody. This is why you can open your eyes and look at the world today and see who's literally pushing slop and bullshit on you. If you haven't ended up on a government list, if you haven't gotten demonetized, if you haven't, lost a ton of income, if you haven't been censored in any way, I really don't want to listen to anything you have to say. At this point, it's like a litmus test for being a real motherfucker. That's it. All these people are pushing this shit. It makes me sick to see this shit. This is a 25 fucking minute video. You think we're going to watch this full fucking 25 minutes so this guy could parrot his stupid motherfucking book and not mention what women should do to be better for men? We constantly get messaging, bro, how a man should treat a woman, how a man should be for a woman, what a man needs to do to step up and be a real man for a woman, sacrifice himself for a woman, alter his behavior for his woman, suppress his desires, and don't come to the table 50-50. Don't have your demands. You are not allowed to have demands. You're just lucky to be breathing a woman's air. Fuck off, bro. What do you bring to the table to a man? What do you give a man that would want him to keep you long term. You think what's in between your legs is enough? It's not enough. You need to offer more. Can you even cook besides fucking microwaving box dinners? Are you a clean person, or does your kitchen look like a complete fucking mess? Are you even half the woman your mother was? And where is your father? Did he teach you about respect? How to treat a man? Do you even know what a man's worth and value is? Or is this going to be a competitive thing where we're adversarial against one another, constantly fighting? And they're surprised, like, why the fuck are so many men going overseas? Literally, dealing with a foreign woman is 100 times easier than a woman from your own culture in the West. You have less in common with the foreign woman, and you're going into a foreign land with a completely foreign culture whose parents don't even like these guys, because if they're traditional, they want to marry in the culture. So you are multiple pegs down, and it's still a better experience than dealing with you, fat as fuck, disgusting, filled with tattoos, nose rings, bull rings, all this shit, green hair. You've been completely brainwashed by either TikTok or the college you went into. You got completely indoctrinated into believing a set of beliefs that have done nothing but set you up for a life of lowliness and failure. And the men are saying, you know what, bro? It's better that I try. I have a better shot overseas with completely different people than my own people. That's how fucked we are right now. Do you understand what's happening? And it's accelerating. It's going up like this. It's going parabolic. The amount of women that are going to be lonely in the next 20 years with the amount of men that are either just checking out or getting a passport and fucking off is going to be insane, astronomical. It's already grown to such an extent, and it'll keep growing because society's going to get more difficult. You're going to have a bigger issue with securing, the old school American dream where you buy a house, a white picket fence, 2 cars, 2 kids, vacations, all that shit. You're not going to be able to do any of that on a single income by yourself as a boss babe girly, unless you're hoeing your pussy out to dudes randomly that you go on dates with. And by then you're just no different than an OnlyFans chick. So what is the future that awaits you? And you throw in the advent of AI, like I said, that's going to completely transform these useless, non-productive jobs, automate them all away. You're going to have a huge percentage, mostly women, affected by AI. And watch, we're going to hear some very interesting conversations over the next 5 to 10 years as the layoffs ramp up and women are most affected. And I want to see how government is going to jump into the rescue, how women are going to vote for more policies to protect more people from AI job loss. I'm so curious, because if it was men that were mostly affected, they wouldn't do a goddamn thing. They only cater to men, just like the Trump administration did with MAGA, when it suits them, and then they throw away everything that you were wanting this person to institute, what they said they would do on the campaign trail. Yeah. Congratulations, guys. You played yourself. It's only unfortunate that we took a ding along the ride with you. That's really what it is in society today. Let's see what else they got to say. I keep rambling over and over.
As far as don't blame one side or the other, you have found fault with the left. And I'll tell you what, belatedly, a lot of Democratic politicians have found fault with the left, not focusing on the problems of young men enough. And you can do 2 things at once. You can worry about the challenges young women are facing.
You see, we can't have an honest conversation about men struggling without having to shore it up. But first, let me preface this by saying that, we can't discount the struggles women are. What struggles, bro? What literal struggles? What?
While not ignoring young men, and there is a belated understanding with some Democratic leaders on that front. And then, of course, the right, online right, that the extremists are pushing. Just the absolute most horrific treatment, especially of women.
Well, to your point, so the far right recognized the problem first. The problem is they conflate masculinity and the solution with coarseness and cruelty and taking us back to the 50s when non-whites and women had less opportunity. That's just not the answer. At the same time, the far left's answer is to say, well, you don't have problems, you are the problem, and that the answer is to act more like a woman. And quite frankly, that's just not helpful to a young man. So what we have is a situation where neither party is really addressing the issue. I went to the Democratic National Convention, and I saw a parade of special interest groups addressing the problems, the very real problems that special interest groups face, but there wasn't one single mention of the group that has fallen further faster in the United States than any other group, and that is young men. If you go to the Democratic National Committee website, there's a section that says who we serve, and it lists 17 demographic groups, from seniors to the disabled to veterans to Asian Pacific Islanders. The only group it doesn't mention is young men. I counted it up. It's 74% of the population. When you say you're advocating for 74% of the population, you're not advocating for them. You're discriminating against the 26%. So let's have an honest conversation around who's really struggling in this nation and how we address the problem. And that's the good news. These are addressable, fixable problems with common sense solutions.
So, Scott, let's talk about that in small personal ways. I have two sons. One is 14. The other will turn 11 later this week. We are very tough on them about phones. They're not on it much, despite pressure from their friends. My oldest is often the one kid at the table without the phone, but we all believe it's good for him long term. Beyond something like that, what are some things that you would tell me, to tell parents of young men, teenagers, whatever, what should we be doing to set them up in a more healthy way?
So if you were to reverse engineer to the single point of failure when a boy comes off the tracks, it's when he loses a male role model through death, divorce, abandonment. What's interesting is that girls in single-parent homes, of which we have the most in the world, actually have the same outcomes, same rates of college attendance, same rates of self-harm. The moment a boy loses a male role model, at that moment he becomes more likely to be incarcerated than graduate from college. It ends up that if you look at the studies, while boys are physically stronger, they're mentally and emotionally much weaker. I'll give you a very sad and upsetting statistic. Two 15-year-olds, both sexually molested, a boy and a girl. Neither is less or more heinous than the other. The boy is 10 times more likely to kill himself later in life. So the first thing is, and it sounds like you've already done this, you've already checked this box, is that we have to get men involved in a young man's life. There's just certain things a young man can't listen to unless it's from a man. And even just saying that 5 years ago, that men need to be involved in a young man's life, was seen as triggering. I was raised by a single immigrant mother, lived and died a secretary, lied in my life, but she knew right away that we needed to get men involved. There's also social programs and educational programs. Let's start boys a year late in kindergarten. They're neurologically less mature, 18 months behind the prefrontal cortex of a man. More men in K through 12. Let's take away the tax status of universities with more than $1 billion endowment that aren't growing the freshman class faster than population because they've decided they're no longer public servants. They're hedge funds offering classes, more vocational programming. Tax policies that stop taking money from young people and putting it in my pocket. People my age are 72% wealthier than they were 40 years ago. Young people are 24% less wealthy. And let's have an honest conversation. When young people, and especially young men, aren't economically viable, they have trouble finding a mate. And the most rewarding things in life are relationships, and we're making it increasingly difficult for young people to find relationships. Mandatory national service. Let's give young people the opportunity to meet other great Americans and fall in love. The lowest levels of young adult teen depression in the world, in the West, are in Israel, despite all the existential threats. Why? Because they're all serving in the army or in some sort of social service, meeting people from different ethnic groups, different income classes, different sexual orientations, and serving in the agency of something bigger than...
I can't believe it. He's pushing this shit. He's pushing service through citizenship. Would you like to know more? But service for pussy. Would you like to know more? Of course, in society today, it's Starship Pussy, not Starship Troopers. Like, we're all going in mandatory military service just so we can get some poon, boys. Not to make our nation great, not to be part of something bigger than yourself, not, for the glory, for the self-improvement, for the discipline, for the brotherhood. Nah, because, you motherfuckers got no bitches, no hoes, so we're gonna have to draft you in the military. Jesus Christ. We're so close, dude, so close. Right there, we're right fucking there to just say get rid of universal suffrage and make it meritorious. End of story. If you don't serve, you don't get to vote. God, we're so close. That conversation is coming. I can feel it deep in my bones. People are going to start questioning shit because we're all starting to pay attention to the way people vote, the statistics of voting when it comes down to gender and race and all this stuff, the demographics of voting. People are paying attention and they're going, how the fuck could this block of people so huge, let's just say women, vote for this guy if he wants to institute policies that are against their best interest? Europeans do it all the time. In Western Europe, the liberals, the women, are voting for the open borders, the migrants, to come in, the illegals on the boats that are the ones decapitating them, raping them, tormenting them, throwing them in grooming gangs where they're sex trafficked since they're in like early teen years, they're children. Women vote for that. It makes no sense because they have no duty to democracy. Nothing is expected of them. They didn't have to give a pound of flesh for the nation. And if they were ever to be called, or let's just say there's an emergency to be called to give your life for the nation and fight for it, they will never be called because they're women. Kind of crazy that they're not involved in the draft. Wow. So it's a man's body that's not even his own. When the bells of war are ringing and men are called up to head up that, call, you could say, women are just like twirling their hair and putting on the apron and I just cook meals. I don't know about anything feminism. What are you talking about? Put an M16 in her fucking hand. Let her pilot the drones. Go out there, dig the ditches. You're in the front line. Let's go, comrade. You're in hop skipping away next to me, and we're fighting for freedom. You wanted to be equal? Here it is. Let's go. Yep, you're getting kamikaze droned by some fucking nerd with pimples. It is what it is. Yeah, that's what equality is, huh? Same benefits, same misery. Anyways, if you want to see the rest of this show, I'm not watching it. He cooked a little bit at the end there. He had some great policies, but you need to stop, beating around the bush and just tell people exactly what we need to fix the country. Because that's what men need, a country to be fixed. Anyways, we'll see you guys.